Sharon said the Export-Import Bank is the official export credit agency of the United States. We are a federal agency. It was established in 1934, and although the name is a little misleading, we only are involved in the export side of business. We are promoting U.S. exports as well as the sustainability of jobs in the U.S. We do have 10 regional offices that Sharon had indicated, all servicing the small business exporter. We can assist you on various transactions on the short-term end of it. If your need is pre-export financing, we offer the solution of working capital guarantee through our partners, which are the lenders. And we also offer solutions for your short-term accounts receivable financing, obviously the foreign accounts receivable, as well as for protection through also through the working capital guarantee, as well as the export credit insurance. For the buyer side, we do offer medium-term financing and risk protection through also insurance products, as well as loan guarantees and lease guarantee programs. And the long-term financing, which are sizable amounts, and that does not fall within the small business scope, has loan guarantees as well as direct loans in the bank at the Washington, D.C. level. One of the most important prerequisites of the program is that we must have U.S. content requirements met, and in the short term, we're looking at products and services that have at least 50% U.S. content, which it only includes the actual product manufacturing costs as well as labor, not the markup price. There's also an element under the small business program which allows you to ship an aggregate amount of foreign content as long as we meet the 50%. On the medium-term programs, we have 1 to 5 years on average, even though there are other programs that extend beyond that. But for our purposes, products must have at least 85% U.S. content. Otherwise, we drop it down to the percentage that is considered eligible. Usually under the medium-term program, we do require a 15% cash down payment. As Sharon had said, small business is our business. We do 80% of the approvals for small business exporters. And personally, I have seen that there is no transaction that is too small. I've seen as small as, I think, $4,000 on a transactional basis. But obviously, we are here to support U.S. business exports, especially small business. Well, Sharon went through all these numbers, but basically the important component of all these numbers is that we're actually supporting export-related American jobs, and we're very proud to do so. 2011, we do focus on several industries, but I would say that although that is officially the sectors that we look at, anything that is considered a U.S. product that is exportable from the U.S. to other markets is considered eligible. And those 9 key markets are the markets that seem to be the most in demand at this point. So Brazil, Colombia, India, Indonesia, Mexico. In our side of the world, I would say Brazil, Colombia, and Mexico are very active in the program. Working capital guarantee is always done in conjunction with our lender partners, and basically it is for the use of pre-export financing. It allows you to use the funds for the purchase of the raw materials as well as labor and other services. Again, it's at least 50% U.S. component of the services and the product. The funds may also be used for export activity to open a standby letter of credit for performance bonds and bid bonds, and the advance rates, which is quite attractive as far as versus the banking side, is up to 90% of the foreign accounts receivable and up to 75% against the inventory. As a former banker, I can tell you that those numbers in the banking world are usually 75% against receivables, even domestic, and 50% probably against inventory. So I think it's very flexible. Of course, the benefits are various. We have risk mitigation. You're ensured that your customer, the buyer, is not going to stop payment and you're going to run that risk. The commercial and political risks are covered for 95% in the small business area. It varies depending on the policy. Marketing tool, if you're selling cash in advance right now, this is a way of marketing your sales to allow 30 or 60-day terms, which is something very attractive to your buyer. And of course, the financing tool with your lender, it actually allows you to include your foreign receivables in the borrowing base where it's usually ineligible for the U.S. banks. Under the short-term export credit insurance, there are 3 choices in general for the policies. We have the small business multi-buyer policy, which is basically covering the credit sales of the company for several for several buyers. It will always fall under the small business definition, which in this case falls, I would say, generally speaking, manufacturing roughly is 500 employees or less, depending on the NAICS code, obviously, but just to get an idea. And in services and trade companies, it's usually 100 or less. The exclusions that you see there, sales to Canada, secure payment terms, which is cash in advance, site drafts and letters of credit, can be excluded from the $7.1 million and average export sales for the past 3 years on average. So generally speaking, most small businesses do fall or qualify under those definitions. The standard multi-buyer policy is those exporters which have more than the $7.5 million on export sales or are not considered to be small business by the definition. And then the single buyer policy is when the exporter just wishes to insure one particular buyer and or multiple shipments to that same buyer. The policy that we've been seeing a lot of activity with has been the Small Business Express Insurance, and that is a policy that is very user-friendly from the exporter standpoint. It does limit the listing of 20 buyers or less. Obviously, those aren't credit terms as defined previously with the exclusions. And you must not be currently insured by Exim Bank nor any other private sector insurer. So technically you are new to Exim Bank, but you are also not using any private sector insurance policies. To qualify for the Small Business Express Insurance, it has to be the parent company, subsidiaries, or affiliates should be considered to be a small business as defined by the SBA and have the average of less than 7.5 million in exports, with the exclusions, of course. But you must also have 1 year of profitable operating history. You do have to have a DUNS number, which is a requirement, and then the 20 or less existing foreign buyers, which is one of the features. The key features and the attractive features of the policy is you do get 95% coverage for non-payment for both commercial and political risks. There is no deductible, no application fee, and no first loss deductible as well. Exim Bank will also pre-approve everything as far as your buyer is concerned. You have no need to put in a credit department just to do the due diligence of the policy. We do request credit reports on buyers with no cost to the exporter. Generally speaking, on credit limits under 300,000, there is a fast turnaround time, even though it's so popular now that it's actually getting a little more, 5 to 7 days probably. It is a longer turnaround for the higher amounts because of the internal workings of the underwriters. No minimum sales volume or premium. It is used pay as you go, as far as if you are shipping, you use the policy and pay the premium accordingly. The rates are technically very reasonable. It's 60 on a 60-day account tenor. It's 65 cents per $100 of gross invoice value. So it's a very affordable premium for your peace of mind. And also, if you use the insurance policy in conjunction with working capital guarantee, which is usually a bundled package, from Exim Bank or the SBA in this case, you do get a 25% rate reduction on the insurance premiums. There is also a small business multi-buyer policy, which is very similar, but in this case, we're doing the portfolio of exports. All export credit sales must be included with the typical exclusions that have been mentioned earlier. Same, no deductible, no application fee. Generally, it's a little bit less because you are responsible for the credit checks and the trade references on behalf of your buyers. So there is a component of credit follow-up on your part. And also the same thing applies with the discount rates, the 25% rate reduction on the premiums. Exim Bank will obviously pre-approve your buyers or allow you to do your own credit decisions, so there is an element of authority on your part, depending on your experience. And then the standard multi-buyer policy is those exporters which are not considered small businesses. In other words, larger than 7.5 and not under the SBA definition. All export sales also must be included, the whole portfolio. There is a first loss deductible, but there is no application fee. So basically your premium rate is going to be calculated based on a risk-weighted evaluation of the portfolio. So it's not like the other ones that are a flat rate upfront. There are discretionary limits if you wish, but then obviously you have to go through more due diligence on your part. And the short-term single buyer is simply the policy where the exporter has one particular buyer they need to insure, and it's basically calculated based on country, buyer type, and credit terms extended, so there is an evaluation or a risk weight to that policy. On the medium-term side, we do have insurance and guarantees that are offered. Again, insurance going through up to 5 years, and it's usually on capital equipment. The guarantees also through our lenders, which have a master guarantee agreement in place with Exim Bank. And it's basically the 15% cash down payment that I have mentioned earlier, required by the buyer, and we support the 100% of the U.S. content remaining. We have coverage in over 175 countries. We have the country limitation schedule published periodically, which updates all the countries that are open or closed for coverage. It's easily accessible through the link through our website, as well as there's a sheet that I handed out that has that link directly. And we always have restrictions, no military or defense-related sales to companies in that sector. And the last little slide will have my contact information in case you have any questions or are interested in a particular product. So please feel free to call me anytime.